Hello friends, welcome to Internetworks. My name is Edgar C. Francis. In this video, we will see the configuration of the SVI DHCP server, VTP, root guard, BPDU filter, Inter-VLAN routing, and trunking 802.1q, and many more. So this lab is good for the CCNA and CCNP student. And these steps we are going to take. First, we configure the trunk. After that, we configure no negotiation and allow only VLAN 11, 12, 13, 14 on the trunk. After that, we configure VTP domain. The name will be internetworks and the password will be networks. And then we configure the version. We are using version 2. After that, we configure MLS switch as a server and rest of the switches are client. MLS means multi-layer switch, and this switch 5 is our MLS switch, and these 1, 2, 3, 4 switches will be client. And we will make sure the rest of the switches will get this information after we configure VLAN 11, 12, 13 and 14 on this MLS switch. Okay, then we configure the port into their respective VLANs. For example, these ports in the switch 1 will be in a VLAN 11. After that, we configure the IP addresses on their VLANs for inter-VLAN routing. For example, for VLAN 11 we have 192.168.1.1. For VLAN 12 we have 192.168.2.1, and like this VLAN 13 we have 192.168.3.1. okay, then we configure the DHCP server for VLAN 11, 12, 13, 14 on a multi-layer switch. This is our multi-layer switch, switch 5. Here we are going to configure 4 separate DHCP server, and we make sure all the PCs in their VLANs will get their IP addresses and other informations from their DHCP servers. After that, we are going to test this from the ping command, from pinging from PC1 to PC15, and we make sure that PC1 will reach PC15. Okay, the communication will be there. Okay, after that we configure the port fast on all the ports on the access ports. For example, these ports from 1/0 to 1/3. okay, after that we configure MLS switch to become the root bridge for all VLANs. For all VLANs means VLAN 11, for VLAN 12, for VLAN 13 and for VLAN 14. The switch 5 will be the root bridge. Okay, and after that we configure the root guard on the trunk on this multi-layer switch. Okay, for these interfaces for 0/0 to 0/3. okay, and then we configure the BPDU filter. So this lab is good for the CCNA CCNP student. Okay, so let's get started. This is our switch 5, and we have to change the name. So host name is going to be switch 5. okay, now these are the interfaces. Started the range is 0/0 to 0/3. okay, so interface we have range, Ethernet 0/0 to 3, switch port, trunk, encapsulation, we have .1q ISL. okay, so .1q. okay, switch port, mode, trunk, and the switch port no negotiate. okay, now switch port, trunk allowed VLAN. okay, 11, 12, 13 and 14. okay, exit. The same thing we are going to configure on this switch 1, 2, 3, 4 also. okay, so this is our switch 1. okay, we change the host name. So host name is switch 1. okay, now we have the interface, Ethernet 0/0. okay, switch port, trunk, encapsulation .1q, and switch port mode trunk. Okay, switch port negotiate switch port trunk, and we allowed VLAN 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, now we change the host name. So host name switch 2. Okay, interface Ethernet 0/0, and switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, switch port mode trunk, and switch port no negotiate. Okay, switch port trunk allowed VLAN 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, exit. Now switch 3, change the host name. So host name is switch 3, and interface Ethernet 0/0, switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, switch port mode trunk, and switch port no negotiation, and switch port trunk allowed VLAN 11, 12, 13, and 14. Exit. Now switch 4, configuration terminal, and host name switch 4, interface Ethernet 0/0, switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, switch port mode trunk, and switch port no negotiate, switch port trunk allowed VLAN 11, 12, 13, and 14. Exit. Okay, now exit. Okay, now on switch 2, let me see, the interface is Ethernet 0/0, show interface trunk. Okay, now let's verify on the switch 5, because this is going to be our server. So exit, show interface trunk. Okay, looks good. Okay, the VLAN allowed on trunk is 11 to 14. Mode is on, encapsulation by the 802.1q, status trunking. Looks good. Okay, we have completed these 2 steps: trunking, no negotiation, and allowed only VLAN 11, 12, and 13, 14. Now we configure the VTP domain, and the server is going to be a switch 5. So okay, so configure terminal. Now we configure the VTP domain. So VTP, the domain name is internetworks. Okay, now we configure the VTP password. So VTP password is internet. Okay, VTP mode server, by default it's server mode, but okay, you can see the device mode already VTP server for VLAN. Okay, now VTP version, so version is 2. Okay, exit. So now these switches, switch 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be our client. So starting from switch 1. Okay, configure VTP domain name is internetworks. Okay, configure the password is VTP password is internet. Okay, now VTP mode means it's server client, so all these 4 are the clients. So VTP mode by default it's a server, we have to change this to client. Okay, now VTP version, VTP version is 2. Okay, exit. Now switch to, so VTP domain name is internetworks. Okay, and VTP password, so VTP password is internet, and VTP mode is client, and VTP version is 2. Okay, exit. Now switch 3. So VTP domain is internetworks, and VTP password is internet. Okay, VTP mode is client, and VTP version, it's already in version 2, but you can see. Okay, now on switch 4, configure terminal. So VTP domain is internetworks, and VTP password is internet, and VTP mode is client. VTP version, of course, it's already in version 2, but I'm still configuring the command. Okay, now we successfully configure this VTP, and we configure this server on this multi-layer switch, MLS switch. Okay, and the rest of the switches are the client we configure. Now we configure the VLAN 11, 12, 13 and 14 on the MLS. MLS means multi-layer switch. Okay, so we go to the switch, our server, which is MLS multi-layer switch. Okay, here we configure the VLANs. Okay, so first VLAN 11 name, we are using, okay, go green team. Okay, exit. VLAN 12 name, go blue team. This is simulated environment, so I am using these kinds of name. So VLAN 13 name is go purple. Exit. And VLAN 14 name go sky blue. Exit. Now let's verify what is the next. Make sure rest of the switches will get this information. So okay, so let's go to the switch 1 and let's check. Show VLAN. Can see we have these VLANs: go green, go blue, go purple, go sky blue. On switch 2, show VLAN. Okay, now switch 3, show VLAN. Okay, and switch 4, show VLAN. Okay, so now we configure the ports into their respective VLANs as per the topology. So for switch 1, these ports are going to be, means these PCs are going to be in VLAN 11, which is go green, and switch 2, these ports are in VLAN 12, and same way switch 3 and switch 4. So now we configure these ports to their respective VLANs. So let me see what is the port. Okay, These ports are in a 1/0. Okay, starting from switch 1, configure terminal, interface range 1/0 to 3, Ethernet. Okay, 1/0 to 3, switch port mode access, and switch port access VLAN 11. Okay, now same way on switch 2, configure terminal, interface range Ethernet 0/0, okay, 1/0 to 3, switch port mode access, and switch port access VLAN 12, exit. On switch 3, configure terminal, interface range Ethernet 1/0 to 3, switch port mode access, and switch port access VLAN 13, exit. And switch 4, configure terminal, interface range Ethernet 1/0 to 3, switch port mode access, and switch port access VLAN 14. Okay, now let's verify. Show VLAN. You can see these ports are in VLAN 14, which is Go Sky Blue. The interfaces are, means the ports are Ethernet 1/0 to 1/3. Let's verify on the switch 1 also. Do show VLAN. Okay, you can see in Go Green, which is VLAN 11, these ports are in this VLAN 11, 1/0 to 1/3. On switch 2, do show VLAN. Okay, in Go Blue, in these are the ports are in Go Blue team. On switch 3, do show VLAN. Okay, Go Purple. Okay, looks good. So now we successfully configure these steps. Now we configure the IP address to the VLANs for the inter-VLAN routing. Okay, now we configure the IP address on the our MLS switch, multi-layer switch. Okay, now we configure the IP address. So interface VLAN 11. Okay, this, okay, VLAN 11, and the IP address for this VLAN 11 is 192.168.1.1. So 192.168.1.1, 255.255.255.0. Okay, no shutdown. X. Okay, interface VLAN 12, and the IP address is 192.168.2.1. So 192.168.2.1, 255.255.255.0, and no shutdown. Okay, now interface VLAN 13, the IP address is 3.1. So 192.168 3.1 255.255.255.0. Okay, no shutdown. Exit. Now interface VLAN 14. The IP address is 4.1. So 192.168 and 4.1 255.255.255.0. No shutdown. Okay, and show interface, show IP interface brief. Okay, so you can see we have we have over here you can see VLAN 11, the IP address is 192.168.1.1. For VLAN 12, 192.168.2.1. For VLAN 13, 192.168.3.1, and for VLAN 14, 192.168.4.1. Manual protocol is up, status is up. Okay. The most important command is IP routing. Okay. Now we configure the DHCP server for VLAN 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. So now we configure 4 different servers for VLAN 11, VLAN 12, VLAN 13 and VLAN 14. Okay. And we are going to configure this server on this MLS switch. Okay. So starting the command service DHCP, and we configure the DHCP pool. So DHCP pool, and the name we are using VLAN 11. This is the name, you can use any name. So network, and we have 192.168 is 1.2 because 1.1 is our gateway. So, and the mask 255.255.255.0. okay. Now the default router. So default router is 192.168.1.1. okay. So 192.168.1.1, this is the address. Okay. Now we configure the DNS server. So DNS server 8.8.8.8. okay. Now we configure for VLAN 12, 13 and 14 the same way. Service DHCP, IP DHCP pool, and name VLAN 12. The network is 192.168.2.2 because 2.1 is the default gateway, default router. Okay. So 255.255.255.0, and the default router is 192.168.2.1. okay. Now the DNS server is 8.8.8.8 exit. Now for the VLAN 13, so again service DHCP, IP DHCP pool, and VLAN 13, and the network is 192.168.3.2 and 255.255.255.0. The DNS server is 8.8.8.8. okay. Exit. Now for the VLAN 14, so again service DHCP and IP DHCP pool is VLAN 14, and network is 192.168.4.2 255.255.255.0. okay. Now okay, I forgot it over here, the default router command. Okay, so anyway I will write it. So okay, the default router is 192.168.4.1. okay. Now the DNS server is 8.8.8.8. okay. Exit. Now I forgot it here, the default router address. So let me write this: service DHCP. Okay, and IP DHCP pool is VLAN 13. Okay, now the default router address is 192.168.3.1. okay, exit. Okay, now let's check show IP DHCP binding. Okay, now let's check if we configure everything right. Show IP, there's no IP. Okay, IP DHCP. I wish it will get the IP address from our server. I hope. Okay, you can see let's get the IP address from our DHCP server. Let me check. Show IP. You can see the IP address, the default gateway, the DNS server, the DHCP server address, and the DHCP lease, the MAC address. Okay, everything. So okay, now let's IP DHCP. Okay, IP DHCP. Okay, IP DHCP. Okay, let's wait a minute. Okay, now let's go to the switch 5, which is our server, and again we are going to configure give the command show IP DHCP binding. You can see here the IP address, the username means the MAC addresses, and the lease expirations, and the type of it's automatic, and the static active interfaces is the VLAN 11. Okay, now let's check this VLAN 14. So IP DHCP, and again IP DHCP. Here also IP DHCP. We are going to make sure that all the PCs are getting the IP address or not. So DHCP. Okay, you can see over here is get the IP address from our DHCP server is 192.168.4.5, the default gateway. Okay, now let's check on the switch 5. Where is our switch 5? Where is switch 5? Okay, this. Okay, previously the 4 PCs in the VLAN 11 get their IP address. Now you can see now 14 also is getting the IP address. Okay, so this is how you can configure. Okay, now next task is make sure all PCs in the different VLAN get their IP addresses and other information. Okay, ping from PC1 to PC in a different VLAN. Okay, now we are going to ping from PC1 to PC15. Okay, so what is the IP address? Is 4.4. okay, now let's check. I hope ping 192.168.4.5. okay, you can see it's getting reply from our PC15. We are going to ping from PC2 to PC15 again. Okay, ping 192.168 4.5. okay, you can see. So our DHCP server and our previous configurations is 100% good. Okay, so our next task is configure port fast on all the access ports. Okay, so switch 1, we configure the port fast, spanning tree port fast. Okay, so interface we have range Ethernet 1/0 to 3, spanning tree port fast. Okay, you can see here the messages. Okay, these are the access ports, not the trunk, so we don't have to worry about this. Okay, it's a good feature. Now on the switch 2, okay, interface, range, Ethernet 1/0, a spanning tree, port fast. Okay, exit on switch 3 also. Okay, interface, range, Ethernet 1/0 to 3, spanning tree, port fast. Okay, and switch 4 also. Okay, configure terminal and interface, range, Ethernet 1/0, sorry, 1/0 to 3, spanning tree, port fast. Exit. Okay, now we successfully configure the port fast. Okay, now the next task is configure MLS switch to become the root bridge for all the VLANs. Okay. Okay, configure terminal, spanning tree, root. Okay, so now let's take the switch 5 and spanning tree, VLAN 11 and root, primary. Okay, for VLAN 13, this switch is also the root bridge. Okay, third for 12, now for the 13, and also for the VLAN 14, this switch is a root bridge. Okay, and now let's verify. Show spanning tree. You can see this is the root bridge. Okay, you can see this is the root bridge for VLAN 11. For VLAN 13, you can see over here VLAN ID, the VLAN 13, this is the root bridge, and for VLAN 14, this is the root bridge. Okay, okay, now our another task is configure the root guard on trunk multi-layer switch. Okay, okay, now again go to this switch, and I can configure one by one, or we can take the range. So I'm going to take the range. So interface, range, Ethernet 0/0 to 3, spanning tree, guard, root. Okay, you can see the message, root guard enable on ports. Root guard enable ports means 0/0 to 0/1, 0/2 to 0/3. The root guard is enabled. Okay, so this is enough for the today's lab, and thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much, really. I hope you like this video. If you like, please give a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you.